No shortage of coverage today, huh? Wow. We'll do a brief statement here in a minute or two. Take a few questions. Okay.
Okay, here's a comment.
The statement is just briefly, thank you all for coming. Very nice to know that you care. There's not much of a statement to make. The Minnesota voters have spoken. We just don't know what they've said yet. There's a process in place that is moving forward, and we should know shortly what the outcome is. At least we're hopeful for that. How's that?
Tell us about what you mean by shortly. Are you going to know after this week, after the recount, after the court case? What are you talking about here?
Well, I'm just, like you, I'm just going to let the process go as it's supposed to by law. Right now, the canvassing board is going through its process. I mean, it's interesting. The questions have to be answered. You want to make sure that the process is fair, open, and honest, and that the voters, actually, their wishes are honored. And in this case, since, 10 a.m. last Wednesday, we have gained over 1,000 votes. And there are some questions that remain with respect to absentee votes, with respect to military votes, with respect to some incredible mistake that supposedly was corrected in Hennepin County. I think these things need to be addressed, and the process will address those, and we'll see how it goes.
In the meantime, are you planning a transition team? Are you starting to prepare should you win the election?
Yeah, Bill, we ran to win, and the goal was to govern. We are actually ready to govern in the event that is the ultimate outcome. And in the next few days, I'll announce the transition team that's already been put in place, and we'll give you that.
If after the recount you're still down 8,000 votes, whatever the total might be, will you challenge this in court? Will you pursue other options?
Well, I don't think that's I mean, it's obviously anything's a fair question, but I don't think it's an appropriate question at this point. You got to wait for the different processes to resolve themselves. This one will be completed, it's my understanding, by the 23rd of November. Then there will be a recount, a hand recount of 2.2 million ballots approximately that have been cast, and we'll see how that process turns out.
Do you expect to win?
Again, I think the best that anybody can say right now would be that the voters have spoken. We just don't know what they said. You've got 2.2 million ballots that have been cast in the state of Minnesota. You've got 0.4 tenths, if that, of separation. Just a few thousand votes. I think that's why the process was set in place, that there will be a recount.
More broadly, though, what do you think voters said if they elected DFL constitutional officers, or at least most of them, and a Republican legislature? Is it a split decision?
I think there are, until this process is over, we'll have to reserve judgment on that.
What about the legislature flipping over?
I think it's very clear what the public agreed with is that government needs to live within its means, and they're looking for people that have a fiscal message, one that's about creating jobs and getting the economy moving. But aside from that, Mary, you know, when you talk about the other races, this is the only one right now that we're talking about, and we'll have to wait and see how the process turns out.
For the recount, what does it mean that you have Eric Magnuson as chief litigator? What's the signal that sends?
Well, I think he's one of the most respected, if not the most respected, legal mind jurist in Minnesota. I think that speaks for itself.
Is it an indication that you're willing to go into January?
No, I think...
legally fight this?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Pat. I didn't mean to interrupt you. No, I think what it says is we're committed to making sure that the process works the way it was intended, that the actual votes that were cast are counted, and that whatever the outcome is, we will abide with that outcome.
Well, why does your campaign play sort of a subservient role in this while the party's sort of taking the lead, which is sort of opposite to the David strategy?
Well, because it's moved into a different phase. You're not campaigning anymore. This is not a campaign. This is making sure, it's more of a mechanical process, making sure that the votes that were cast are counted
Who is
and
still on the
appropriate.
campaign payroll?
Well, I think Carl Kuhl, who's standing right here, is on the payroll. And then I have a guy who's taking care of the books who's still on the payroll, and there's a couple of others, but it's very small. It's not, you know, the folks that are doing the day-to-day work, field work, those are not on the payroll.
What have you been doing in the last week? And there's nothing you've said in the last 5.5 minutes that you couldn't have said, I don't know, Wednesday. You've been to Canada. What else have you been doing? Have you been making key decisions? Have you been meeting with fundraisers? What?
I've been doing what I'm supposed to do. I got about as far away from here as I could for a few days. Somebody found me apparently in beautiful Neepawa, Manitoba, about 3 hours north of Winnipeg. I actually managed, Rachel, to drive through Riding Mountain National Park on Saturday. If you haven't done it, you should. It's beautiful.
I'm a little bit.
Didn't see any moose though.
But are you preparing to take over the state, take the reins of government?
Pat, as I said earlier, we ran our campaign to win, to be successful, and we were prepared to govern. We are prepared to do that. In the event, through this process, we are declared the winner ultimately, and we are sworn in. We're ready to govern.
Are you preparing a transition team? Do you have people in place?
Yes.
Considering names of commissioners, that type of thing? Tell me
No,
what
no,
depth you're going.
we'll do that in the next couple of days, Tom. Yes, the answer to the first question, and you asked several right there, is yes, we do have a transition team, and I'll announce that in the next couple of days. We did our work beforehand. You know, you guys asked regularly throughout the campaign process, where's the detail under these numbers? We were doing the work, and we were prepared in the event we were successful to do exactly what you need to do to govern the state of Minnesota. At this point, I'm here today to talk about Rachel's concern of where have you been?
Representative, well, if you've been gone, are you paying serious attention to what's about to happen with the state transition? Are you working hard on that? If you've been out of the country, you've been raising money for the recount, apparently.
Yeah, I've been doing my job. Yeah, I've been involved, Pat. I've been involved. Forgive me, after 16 months, if I took the better part of Friday, Saturday, and part of Sunday to spend with a couple of my boys in North Manitoba. I've been doing my job and trying to honor some family time as well.
How serious do you think the problems were on election night in Hennepin County? Do you think there were serious problems there? Nothing's been uncovered yet. Do you think that's an area where you can harvest any votes?
Well, I don't want to get into that. I think what I would say is clearly there was something going on that nobody really understands yet. There have been some explanations, but we'll let the process go through and we'll see how that turns out.
Representative, you said that you want to let the process take its course, but you are a major part of this process. Are you guys preparing, the lawyers preparing to file an election contest in court?
Actually, Tom, I think that's premature completely. I think what we're doing is making sure that when you have this type of a process, you want to make sure that it's done in a fair, open, and honest manner. That means that you should be part of that process, and I think along with the party, with what they're doing, that's all we're trying to make sure is that the process is conducted the way it's supposed to be conducted by law, and that at the end of the day, Minnesotans can be confident that this was exactly what Minnesota decided for the future of the state. I think that's about all you need to say about it at this point.
How about have you been in the decisions that the party has sent out regarding your recount team, the members of the team, the attorneys on the team, you're an attorney? Did you pick any of those people? Did you say veto anyone?
I think the best, I mean, the fact is, I'm not out soliciting legal counsel, but I am absolutely consulted. I think Michael Toner, his reputation is one that is about integrity and making sure that laws are followed and that the process is followed. So I absolutely approve that. And then again, former Chief Justice Magnuson, his reputation precedes him as well.
Representative, as you probably know, the Campaign Finance Board has said that the fundraising aspect of this is outside the normal campaign rule. What type of self-regulation do you intend to do?
Well, sorry, Brian, we'll make sure that we follow whatever we're supposed to. We'll make sure that we're well within the bounds. We don't want to violate anything legally, and we'll make sure that we do it the way we're supposed
Do
to.
you intend to impose any type of self-limits on how much and from where money comes from for your legal?
You know, again, hypotheticals about what if, when. Right now, we're dealing with, here's the process. The process is about making sure that every vote is counted, that every legal vote that was cast is a vote that's counted in the final outcome. Let's just let that process complete itself, and then we can...
But it's more than hypothetical. The board has said pretty much that there are no rules when it comes to the origin and the disclosure of fundraising. What types of disclosure or regulation do you intend to impose on your team?
We're going to abide by the law. That's the answer to the question.
Your colleague, Representative Winkler, today said with the bipartisan election reforms passed by the legislature that you worked on, he called this frivolously litigating what you're doing.
Well, that's too bad.
Is it frivolous?
No, absolutely not. And I'm sorry if anybody within the legislative process would suggest that making sure that we follow the law, which says that when you are within 1/2 of 1%, you got 2.2 million ballots cast, that there is a process that you follow. I think it's probably, you know, who knows? Maybe he's feeling the effects of last Tuesday and he's not thinking clearly, but we're talking about following the law as it exists, and I don't know how that could possibly be characterized as frivolous.
As Michael the election law when you were in the legislature, do you think the 1/2 of 1% is the correct amount? Are there suggestions to make that less?
I don't know. There was some discussion about that over the past few years, but I don't know that I ever took a position one way or another. Now I find myself in a different position, Rachel, and we'll leave that to the policymakers to decide.
Do you think 1/2 of 1% is overcomable?
In terms of what?
In terms of flipping the market from a Dayton current lead to an Emmer lead so that you may take office?
I'm going to be very clear that this is about making sure that the process, the legal process that is in place, not the process that somebody might want to be in place, that the legal process as it exists is followed. And the only other point I'd make is, it's interesting, since 10 a.m. last Wednesday, we have done nothing but close the gap. So I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is that at the end of the day, Minnesotans need to have confidence that this was done in a fair, open, and honest manner, that every vote was counted, that this is the outcome that they expected, that the legal process that it is in place was followed. That's what's in the best interest of the state of Minnesota, and then we will abide with that outcome.
So you're not sure if you're going to win or not?
What's that?
You're not sure whether you can win or not?
As I told you, we're here today, Tom, to follow through the process, and we'll make sure that those questions that exist, you know, the absentee ballots that are in play, the military ballots that we still don't know what number we're talking about and where they're at, the issue in Hennepin County that was something about a 200 to 400,000 vote mistake that has been described as simple human error. Somebody pushed a button that they weren't supposed to. I think you just got to let the process play itself out and then abide by the results, assuming that they're legal.
Can you tell us about your meeting with Governor Pawlenty yesterday?
Legal fundraising effort, is that part of Michael Toner's role in this process?
Well, I don't think Michael Toner's raising money, no. I think the party is.
It's the party?
I think the party's raising money, yeah.
Fundraising.
I think they are. You'd have to talk to Tony about that.
And your meeting yesterday, can you talk about that, your meeting yesterday with Governor Pawlenty, what was covered?
Yeah, it was about transition, about what happens in the event you are ultimately sworn in as governor of the state of Minnesota, what you're going to need to do. I assume that he's having the exact same conversation with Senator Dayton this afternoon.
Did you discuss the possibility with the governor of him staying on in January, what might happen?
No, we did not.
Discuss him?
No. I think his wish is, as far as I got yesterday, is making sure that the process is followed through and that hopefully it's resolved before the end of the year so the next governor can be sworn in on time.
Is that your hope as well?
You know, I just want to make sure the process works, and yeah, if the process works, yes, I would say.
How would you know whether or not the process works?
Well, these questions that we've apparently still got hanging out there, and you got to ask yourself, with just 6 days and less than a quarter, or approximately a quarter of the canvassing board's work done, you're already talking over 1,000 votes since last Wednesday at 10 a.m. I think we got to just wait for the process to finish. If it follows the way it should, Rachel, and we have some pretty aggressive deadlines by the Secretary of State, the hope by all of us, I believe, regardless of party, should be that it's completed, that everybody's satisfied with the outcome, and we can get on with business.
Representative Emmer, maybe on your drive to Canada, did you have any time to do a little post-mortem, even in your head, about what happened in a big Republican year? Because you're only 8,000 or 9,000 votes behind, but anything you can pinpoint? Was it the tip credit controversy? Anything that may have made this margin happen?
Just poor reporting. I think that was it.
Jeff's been patiently waiting for the last question here, so.
Seriously, have you reflect on that?
No,
Republicans won
yeah.
everywhere. What happened?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons that we want to make sure that the questions are answered. I don't know what happened exactly. We're still going through it right now.
But if you just look at your raw percentages, you underperform compared to other Republicans for statewide office. What happened?
Well, I don't know. I haven't looked at my raw percentages, and when I do that, I'll be happy to answer the question. Yes, Jeff?
These people are much smarter than I am. They're doing just fine.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
All right.
When you were running, you talked about you haven't really practiced law full-time in the last year or so. And you were talking about how you and your wife had sort of put it all on the line in this campaign. If this gets protracted and extended out, are you going to be personally in any financial peril, or will you need to borrow money, or?
We'll see. We'll see. I think that's my issue, and we've handled it up until now, and we'll handle it as we go forward. I don't know what the next 2 months hold. It's very possible that the outcome could be that we're in the governor's office. By the same token, the outcome could be that I'm looking for a job, which we're happy to do as well.
Do you have any thoughts about how the legislature should proceed if there is a caretaker governorship where Valenti has to stay on?
No.
Commissioner Hanson was in your meeting yesterday. Did he give you any advice on how to start building the next budget?
Actually, Bill, I've done that work. We've done the work on the next budget. There's some detail work that we will be doing in between now and in the event we are the next governor that we'll have to do. But that'll be part of the transition team's work. But we've done most of the work already. That's what we had done when we released this last September. That's what a lot of Republican candidates were running on all over the state.
Over the last 7 days, Carl has been inundated with requests from all of us to hear from you, and those have been denied. Why did you wait until today? Did you just want to get away?
Well, I think part of it, but I also think you got to let the process go, Rachel. It shouldn't be a time for grandstanding for people that are running for office. This is a time to let the process be handled in a very judicious, thoughtful manner. It's not a time for, I believe, politicking. It's a time to let the system work as it's designed to work, and then make sure that the outcome is the will of the voters.
Is what the chairman of the party did Wednesday after the election grandstanding, or was that allowing the process?
I talked about the candidate. Didn't you ask me?
I did.
Yeah, I'll let the party speak for themselves. I'll let Tony Sutton and Brian Melendez and all these people, they can do what they think is best. But I'm telling you, from my perspective as the candidate who's involved in the process, I think it's better that we let the process work itself out.
Well, do you think there's fraud? Do you think there's fraud or incompetence? Do you think that something smells funny with this election?
I think we'll let the process work its way out. I think that's the best way.
That's a very different message than the chairman of your party gave out this weekend has kept up. Do you think he was right? Or do you think you were right? Do you think he's appropriate?
Again, from my perspective, Rachel, I think it's very important in the position that I'm in to make it very clear that there is a legal process in place. The law requires certain things to happen under these circumstances, and that's exactly what's happening right now.
Have you told that to Sutton?
Excuse me?
Have you told that to Tony Sutton?
Again, I'm going to tell you from my perspective, we're going to make sure that the law is applied as it's written, and that we know that when this is done, those questions that are out there, whether it be the 200,000 or 400,000 vote mistake that was made in Hennepin County, or it's the military ballots, or it's the absentee ballots, or it's something else that's out there, if there is anything, and I don't know, we'll let that all be resolved through the process that was created by people that went before us.
One more. Are you mentally preparing yourself to take this to the state Supreme Court?
Again, I think I answered this earlier with Brian. I think what I am doing right now is exactly what the law requires me to do as a candidate who has like a 0.4% or 0.3%, whatever it is, difference, I have to let the law operate as the law exists. That's what I'm prepared for.
Who makes final decisions on how far to pursue this? Is it you and you alone, or are you making a conjunction with the party?
I think right now, the answer to that, Jason, is that you're way too early to talk about decisions. It's a matter of making sure that the process as it exists is operating the way it's intended to operate.
Who's in charge? You or the party?
Well, I'm absolutely going to be involved, but there's going to be more people than just one, ultimately. And we'll wait to see. You got to let the legal process, you got to let the canvassing board, you got to let the recount proceed, and then let's have this discussion if there's something to talk about.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys.
What are your plans over the next week? What are your plans over the next week? What do you?
My daughter's in the state volleyball.
Where's that?